everybody. Welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here to talk about, for probably the final time, Star Wars Outlaws after the release of a Pirate's Fortune DLC, which is the end of the Season Pass, the, as far as I'm aware, end of content updates for Star Wars Outlaws. So I've talked about this game a few different times, and every time I come back to it, I have a better opinion of it than I did the last time, which I think is very interesting for a single-player game, and I think speaks volumes to the work they're doing to kind of take into account the initial feedback and pushback that they got for this game. Because by the time we're at a Pirate's Fortune, this is kind of what I wanted the game to feel like. They've tweaked enough things. There's enough balance with things. I can kind of play it in different ways. They've adjusted things. And all of that leads to a game that now I'm very excited about. And I would really, really, really love to see Outlaws 2, even though I don't know if we're getting that. I definitely don't think it's a for sure thing, just because I think with a single player game like this, it's hard to get your audience to keep coming back to it. I don't think there's a ton of people who are out there looking at a Pirate's Fortune right now because the initial Outlaws reception was so average to poor that I think that you just don't get those people back for the DLC. And I think that's sad, because I do think from the initial game to Wildcard and then to finally a Pirate's Fortune, you can feel that improvement going through it, both in terms of gameplay and just in terms of kind of, it feels like they have more of a footing on who Kay Vess is and how to kind of play with some things and how to use this game to tell stories. So to get a little bit into what Pirate's Fortune is, our final piece of DLC here, the story is fine. It's, again, just kind of like the other DLC. It's just kind of a one-off, maybe 3-hour story side piece of what Kay's doing. This one takes place at the end of the game, which is very purposeful because you can see a lot of Kay and ND's relationship. There's some tension between those two that you don't get in the rest of the game, and I think that works very well in this DLC. Or as you're on your ship, Kay just hears a beeping noise, just a really great start there, and it's a secret message about a pirate treasure, and from there she's like, okay, well, we got nothing going on now that the story's done. Let's go hunt down a pirate treasure. It feels very similar to Skeleton Crew. Like, tonally it's very different, but it just kind of has that same kind of setup of like, oh yeah, we stumbled into this, and then after you start looking for this, you get captured and you meet the legendary Hondo Ohnaka, who, if you are familiar with mostly animated, he's not in any of the live action stuff, but if you're familiar with animated Star Wars, he's in Clone Wars, he's in Rebels, he's in some books and things like that. So a fairly well-known legacy character, not to the extent that Lando Calrissian was from Wildcard, but of course we have to have our legacy character in there because that's what's going to bring some people in. But it feels very much like Skeleton Crew, where you have that, like, oh yeah, I found this thing about a pirate map. Oh yeah, here's this quote-unquote legendary pirate, more so in the case of Skeleton Crew than here. Kay especially kind of feels a little out of place that she's all of a sudden is a pirate treasure hunter, but it just kind of stems from the like, okay, let's go find a big score, let's go do this. The rest of the story kind of plays out as you would think. You find your treasure map, you find a piece to the puzzle, you find another piece to the puzzle, you go do the thing, and it just kind of follows that pattern. I do think the thing that elevates this is Hondo in this. He is fantastic, written really well, fun to have just kind of as your side character running around there. One of the very, very specific things I want to highlight in this is the way that ND5 works in this, because he's very antagonistic to Kay about why on earth are we doing this, which almost I think fits from a player's perspective, because you kind of have that same feeling like I mentioned a second ago, that I don't quite get why Kay is into this pirate treasure, and neither does ND. He is not feeling it, and he very much has this dude is shady. We just met him after we got captured and we helped break him out, and now all of a sudden you want to run around with him and trust him and think he's got all these great answers and stuff. So ND just has this really like antagonistic relationship with Hondo, and then it kind of starts to affect him and Kay a little bit as you go through this, where Kay and him are kind of going back and forth a little bit about if they should be doing this, if they shouldn't. And it's a really good character writing that I don't think we got as much of in the initial Outlaws game. So it's good to see that stuff kind of playing out here. And again, I think that's where Outlaws 2, like, you can see what they're trying to do with Kay and ND, and you can see how they're trying to set them up in this universe. And they've got so many good ideas with it. I think it could go so well if they got the opportunity to do that. I do want to say the ending to this is just a giant letdown. It just feels like they didn't want to do a big we're going to put Kay in a certain position with a pirate's treasure. It almost felt like they like wanted to have her go on like a pirate journey, but then at the end they're like, no, we can't like fully embrace Kay as a pirate. But we also can't write it out that she doesn't like pirates. So it just kind of felt like this nothing ending where you literally just you do it and the trophy pops up and it's like, woohoo, you did it, and you go, oh, I did it? Okay. And it leaves Hondo in a weird spot. It leaves K and ND just in this kind of weird spot of just being like, well, I guess we did that. Cool. Which it is side content, it is side quest, but I think when it's a paid DLC side quest versus just an in-game side quest, you want there to be kind of this cool conclusion to the story. And again, they are trying to tell the story of a pirate treasure, of pirates going after, of Hondo being involved, but it just comes across at the end of just like, yeah, we're done here. Time's up. All right, ship it out the door, which sucks because I do think there is some good stuff that they could have played with, especially with how you could have wrapped this up. Obviously, gameplay and stuff, nothing really adjusted there outside of the general updates they've been doing. I don't want to like read through patch notes on this. The two things I do want to mention, the game in general just does have a little bit of a nicer feel to it. I can't pinpoint exactly what changes I like just because obviously I played this at launch, so it's been a bit, so I can't pinpoint exactly. I think that's tweaked. I think that's tweaked. It's hard for me to do that. Outside of, though, the other thing, which is they do let you shoot on the speeder now, which makes so much more sense. There's one or two scenes where just you're kind of going from point A to point B where I ran into people and was able to use my blaster on a speeder. Made sense. Felt so much better than the original game when you couldn't do that. This does have 3 or 4 space battles in it, so it focuses a little bit more on that side of gameplay as well compared to Wildcard and some of the base stuff. So you do have to be good at that. It's one of those things where I think because it's been so long since I played the game, they were a struggle for me. I don't think they were necessarily harder than anything else, but I was struggling, I think, just because I didn't really care for the space battles to begin with, and this does throw a lot of them at you, so if that's something you aren't too fond of, there is a good chunk in here. Ultimately, though, I love the trajectory this game made. I think it's very unique for a single-player game to get better like this. I think Cyberpunk might be one of the other major examples of a game that just continues to trend upward and upward and upward. And if you played it at launch versus if you played it a year, or in Cyberpunk's case 3 or 4 years later, you have such a better game than what you started with. I think that's so unique for a single-player game, and that's definitely what this has. Long-term prospects, not great for it, just because I do think if you were to probably map out player counts and all the other stuff, 85% of the people who played this played the original version, which is nowhere near as strong as the game is now. So hopefully there's more Outlaws to come. Hopefully there's Outlaws 2 in a few years, but I would love to see more KVS. I think this is not necessarily a good wrap-up for the characters, but I think it's a good wrap-up for the game of going, okay, we can do good character writing. We have some unique ideas. We can put our character into these situations, and we can really write very well for some legacy characters that people are going to be more interested in. So hopefully there's more to come. We are Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below. There's links to support us on Coffee as well. We'll see you later.